Welcome everyone to QB Talks. We have a really great show, as Ed Sullivan would have said, covering what's new, enhanced, and changed in QuickBooks Online, QBO Accountant, and the Intuit QuickBooks ecosystem. This is our quarterly update, and of course, what that means is that I am going to be joined by the lovely Liz Scott. She's with me today, and she'll be presenting the majority of today's information because she is Insightful Accountant's go-to girl when it comes to everything QuickBooks Online. As for me, well, I'm the old QuickBooks desktop dinosaur slowly sinking into the tar pits, but still writing a few tidbits of wisdom in my daily threads at Insightful Accountant, as long as Gary DeHart, our publisher, will put up with me and the rest of you will still read my stuff. And as always, we have to thank our sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't be able to bring you QB Talks free of cost. And so our first sponsor is, of course, Canon Image Formula Document Scanners, who is one of our great long-term sponsors here at QB Talks. They not only sponsor these webinars, but they have sponsored the Top 100 and Pro Advisor of the Year awards for us since the very beginning. I don't know what brand of scanner you use, but I love my Canon scanner. And I bet you would love one too, because Canon, the leading name in images, is also a leading name in scanners. The problem is they've just not bothered to tell enough people that they make scanners. And they do make all kinds of scanners. They have portable scanners and they have desktop scanners. They have wireless and network scanners. They have high-speed and high-capacity scanners. And you know what? Now's the perfect time for you to tell Santa that you want a new Canon Image Formula Document Scanner for the holidays. So, if you would like us to share your information with Santa or one of his elves, then you just need to answer yes to the poll that we are about to open. So you can help us out today by going ahead and responding to the poll questions as quickly as possible. And you've just got two choices to make, yes or not at this time. We won't be sharing your information with Canon unless you answer yes. But if you do answer yes, then you likely may find that you have a gift certificate in your email or maybe even in your stocking. And we're just getting a few more responses. And with that, I'll move on to our next sponsor. Last June at Scaling New Heights, people literally rushed from my cybersecurity presentation to the Landy Insurance booth to find out about cybercrime insurance coverage. That's just one type of insurance coverage that you will want to respond yes to our next poll question. The Herbert H. Landy Insurance Agency, better known to most pro advisors as Landy Insurance, is not only one of our regular sponsors for QB Talks, but they're also another sponsor for the Pro Advisor of the Year and Top 100 awards. Landy is proud to be a family-owned and operated business for over 68 years, probably 69. I think this script's a year old. Landy can help by providing you with professional liability coverage, errors and omission policies, privacy breach and cybercrime coverage, business office liability, workers' compensation, and other liability coverages. Now, if you don't have essential coverages like general and professional liability or errors and omissions, or as I mentioned, cybercrime, you need those kinds of policies. So simply answer yes to the poll question that's about to open if you'd like to hear from Landy. Remember, you'll not be contacted unless you answer yes. So go ahead and as quickly as you can respond to that poll. That'll enable us to get through these polls and sponsors and get to the meat of today's material. Okay, and I'm going to move on to our next and final sponsor, and they're a new sponsor for us, and that's Aventur. They offer a powerful tool which makes class scheduling and CPE tracking and certificate administration easy. They deliver a complete solution in an affordably packaged priced package. Imagine receiving reminders about your licensing renewals and upcoming classes and reporting period requirements for unlimited licenses or jurisdictions. Sign up for courses faster and built-in search engines, all related to your CPE, which allows you to look up live, online, and self-study classes by subject, location, and educator. Aventur CPE will create you a schedule and remind you when to attend. It'll track all your credits and keep you fully in compliance. Let Aventur CPE simplify your education experience. And perhaps best of all, your first license is absolutely free. If you'd like more information about Aventur, just answer yes to the poll question we're about to open. So if you've got to track your CPE, this is the way to do it, folks. And remember, that first license is free. And I think just about everybody's answered that, so I'm going to move on. And with that, here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the accountant's client overview in QBO. That's new. We're going to talk about project profitability with or without T-Sheets integration. We're going to talk about the new QBO email integration and the new Slack integration for QBO. We're going to talk about statement auto import, Amazon integration from QBO Labs, QuickBooks routines from QBO Labs. We're going to talk about QuickBooks Pro Advisor updates, and we're going to have a few last minute updates, I think. And I'm not going to cover the learning objectives, but here they are because this is a CPE eligible class, and you have to answer those CPE things that pop up. So be sure you do that if you want CPEs, but you have to have learning objectives. So here they are, the things related to QuickBooks Online, the things related to QuickBooks Online Accountant, the things related to the QuickBooks ecosystem, and the things related to the Pro Advisor program. And with that said, I'm going to let Liz talk about the Accountant's Client Overview, that new feature. And Liz, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Murph.
Great.
That was
now
great.
I can give my voice a rest.
Well, thank you for doing all of the housekeeping chores at the very beginning. And I had to laugh whenever you said that we could put the Canon scanner on our Santa list. I didn't know that QB Talks was tied into Santa. That's funny. So getting started right away, the QuickBooks Online Accountant's Client Overview, that feels like a funny thing to say because it is just for the accountants, but it is a client's feature. So we're able to see our client's QuickBooks, and I'm just going to dive into that and go live. So let me share my screen, which is my favorite thing to do, is just look live at the product. So if I come over here into QuickBooks, you should be seeing a view of the QBOA accountant, and I'm looking at a client right now. And the thing that we've got is this new ability to have this overview, or kind of just a wellness checklist. And so I think of this as being the great place to start if you're doing monthly engagements and it's a new client, the first time that you connect to them. This is really nice because it lets you know where they're at. And for instance, you're able to see what kind of subscription they have. Do they have payroll? Do they have sales tax? And this is kind of a clue. Do they need to have sales tax? And so if they don't, then you would be able to automatically be alerted that that's an issue. I also love that I can see all of the apps that are connected. So this client has several different apps that are connected, and we're able to see what all is connected. And then we could ask, are all of those still up and working? Do they need them all? Maybe we need to disconnect. The other thing that we're able to see is, have they reconciled? So this account has not been reconciled since September. We can see that we've got 99 transactions that are part of that not reconciled group. And then we can also see this Home Depot account has never been reconciled. Another really cool feature is these common issues. And the thing I like about looking at the common issues is that we are able to see things that we would be alerted to if they were a problem. So if we have these uncategorized expenses, that's clues to us to know, what was probably brought in through the bank feeds that needs to be categorized. And so often I think that this is a training opportunity, that our clients don't understand that uncategorized income or uncategorized expenses. Another thing that can happen is some of these apps, when they import directly into uncategorized expense. And so this is a clue that there's a little bit of bookkeeping work to go do. Also, you can dive right into the chart of accounts. So this is just your overview, whether it's a new client or it's a monthly engagement and you're going and checking out this client's health of the business. You can also go straight over into view the chart of accounts or view reports. And so the nice thing about viewing reports from this screen is you can jump directly into custom management reports. So there's a couple of really cool features that are inside of this new overview. And I believe that we're going to be getting more and more and more features here. So this is kind of the start of some of this overview process. And this feedback button, if there's something that you wish was here, or there's one of these common issues that you think should be added, this is exactly where you would want to put it. So do you want to be able to always have accounts receivable or accounts payable part of these common issues? That feels like that's something that we see often. So you could just click on your feedback and give that feedback. Then I'm going to stop sharing and jump back over into our slides and skip forward a few. The thing that we're going to be looking at next is really cool and super new, which is the QuickBooks project profitability with T-Sheets, that integration. And so, Murph, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Wow, you got through that quicker than I thought. So, folks, this is something that people have been waiting on, and you've been asking about. And it's really similar to what we've always called job costing in QuickBooks Desktop. And it's, a way to get your various project costs and to get them viewed such that you can see your revenues and your costs. And what's so exciting is that now you're going to be able to see really all of your costs. And of course, projects is a feature that came to QuickBooks Online just a little over a year ago. We were the very first to report about it, and we really kind of even reported about it before it happened, and then we reported about it right after it happened again, and gave you all some news about a couple of the things that you were going to be able to do with projects that was still in development. And we're showing you some things today that really are still in development as well. So the key things here is that this will be rolling out soon, and it is designed to report all of your revenues, costs, and expenses on a project-by-project basis, including time tracking and payroll. And by combining the power of QuickBooks along with T-Sheets by QuickBooks and QuickBooks Payroll, users will be able to get a clear picture of the profitability of each of their projects on both a summary and detailed basis, including how labor costs impact their bottom line. And as we'll see in a minute, you'll even be able to include payroll costs in project costs, even if you're not using QuickBooks Payroll or T-Sheets time tracking. Holy projects, Batman! That's exactly what I said, Robin. You'll even be able to include payroll costs in project costs, even if you're not using QuickBooks Payroll or T-Sheets. But before we dive too deep, let's look a little better example of the redesigned projects page, which is intended to give users a better understanding of each of their projects in terms of income, costs, including payroll costs, profit margins, and time associated with each of these projects. As you can see, you're going to get a report that combines both the information and the graphics all in one. Pretty nifty. If my Tassie would work, I could get this to move. When this new feature is rolled out, most likely during the first quarter of 2019, don't quote me on that, you'll be able to tag time to projects before running payroll, so you can see your payroll costs, wages, and taxes by projects, whether you're using QuickBooks Online with enhanced or full service payroll, and whether you're using timesheets inside QuickBooks Online or using T-Sheets by QuickBooks. In fact, as I mentioned a few moments ago, You can even record employee hourly cost rates to help you understand your team's time costs within QuickBooks Online, even if you're not using QuickBooks Online payroll at all. But before we look at that, let's see the effects of payroll in project expenses. From this view, you'll be able to see how your payroll, wages, and employer taxes contribute payroll expenses toward the overall cost for your projects. Only QBO Plus and the new QuickBooks Online Advanced products will offer this project functionality inclusive of payroll time costing. As I mentioned, with this new functionality, there is also a way for you to enter hourly cost rates for employees so that you can calculate time costs even if you're not running QuickBooks payroll, and then incorporate those costs into your project costs without impacting your actual payroll expenses. Let me say that again. You can calculate time costs even if you're not running QuickBooks payroll, and then incorporate those costs into your project costs without impacting your actual payroll expenses. You can add wages, employer paid taxes, other employer contributions like insurance and such, other direct costs, even a percentage of your operating overhead if you want to, and include that in what gets posted against a project. From this view, you will easily see your team's total costs based on their hourly cost rates and how they affect your project profit margin and overall profitability. There will be a variety of new reports to help users understand time activities as they relate to their projects in terms of costs, typically grouped by employees working on each project. Additional reports will come on board later that will most likely give you the ability to group the time by product, service type, or work activity type. So folks, this is a real exciting thing. It's going to give you the ability to have job costing in QuickBooks Online Plus and QuickBooks Online Advanced that far exceeds even what we've ever had in QuickBooks Desktop. And with that, we're going to move on to QuickBooks Online email integration. And Liz, I'll let you take her back.
Oh, thank you. There's been so many new features that have been rolled out in this last quarter. So you just demonstrated one of my favorites. I'm pretty excited about the T-Sheets integration. But this email integration is pretty cool too. So I am going to just kind of take it from there. So the whole idea of the email integration is to be able to help us with our work tab that's inside of QuickBooks. So we're going to be able to go inside of the work tab, turn on those notifications, and then be able to email back and forth with, if there's tasks that come in from our email, then we can use those to create a work project inside of QBO. And then if there's changes to a project, a work project, then it can actually notify us through email. So if we wanted to have one of our team members change a piece of the project, or what if it happened without our being aware of a change in that project, we could get a notification through email saying that there had been a change in that task or project. One of the other really cool things is that we now have this ability to Slack inside of our QuickBooks. And so I want to share my screen and going to say share. That way you can see my screen and hopefully you are seeing it now. So with the QuickBooks Online Slack integration, I wanted to show you a couple of things with the setup. So I've already got it set up and we're going to go look at that live, but there's a couple of things to know whenever you're going through Slack. If you haven't signed up already, it's going to take you to the Slack sign up page. And for those of you who are already using Slack, you know that it's a great place to be able to conversate back and forth. For those of you who are not using Slack yet, let me just go ahead and stop and share why we are using Slack in our firm and why we like it so much. So two things happen. We have some employees that are virtual, and for those employees, we need to be able to continue conversations. And so we want to be able to feel like we're all together without having this formal email where you go back and forth with, hello, how was your day? And then this closing and this body. And so instead of having all of this work in order to be able to communicate, we go inside of Slack. And it's like a room for all of us to discuss firm topics, client topics, and then even park useful things that are coming out with new features for some of our favorite apps. And we're able to throw all of that communication in Slack. We can even go back later on and search it. And so it's a really nice place to, this says hang out, so you can kind of hang out with your work crew. The same thing is true with our clients. So we first integrated Slack for our firm, and now we've been testing it with our clients to see how do we like it with communicating to them. We have task assignments and pieces of work that we would like to have them help us with. So maybe it's a client that we don't have online banking for them. We have to wait for them to get the bank statement to us. We can automate some of these things so that way they get a notification. So they're able to see they've got a Slack notification for part of our work project that's happening inside of QBOA. So you set up your Slack and then you tell QuickBooks that you want to integrate with your Slack. And then it says, okay, well, you need to have Slack opened in order for QuickBooks to see that in your browser and connect the two. And then once you do that, then it says, now we would like to integrate with your team members. So that way you can communicate with your team what's happening. So you go through your setup and you identify who all do you want to connect. So how many clients or just your team do you want to communicate and integrate with Slack? And then once you do that, if you say you do want to connect with your team or connect with your clients, you then connect those channels and those names. So it's got a really nice integration piece. And so you're able to say on the fly, I did not have a Bobco, so that's a client. I did not have a Bobco channel. So I was able to set a channel up for that client on the fly. So as I was just working along, and then it says, yay, you're now connected. And then I even got a Slack notification saying, yay, you've got a new Slack channel and now you're connected with your QBOA. And then next, this is where I want to go ahead and take us live. So I want to show you what this looks like. So I'm hoping that you're all seeing my work tab here inside of my QBOA. So I'm looking at just my Bobco. And so with my Bobco, I'm now connected it to my Slack. And so if there's things that happen within my work project, I can actually push it to Slack. And it can be something that I want to communicate to a team member. So maybe I say, you know what, these are overdue assignments. They should be something that you're doing right now. Or if I come over here and I say, you know what, these bank statements have already been pulled. And I actually want to say that they're now in progress. And I want to send that to Slack. I could send that to Slack. Or I could say this piece is done. And I could say save. And what's really nice is now that I have Slack connected, I can come over here and I can see inside of my Slack, I've got a new message that has popped up. And I'm able to see that Bobco reconciliation is now done. So I got this notification of it's done. So my client can see that it's also done. Or if I didn't want to have this set up with a client, I could push this directly to some of our firm members. So as you go along, if you also want to maybe switch to a new user, you want to say, this is going to go to a new team member. So I'm going to say, I want to send this over to my client to say, this is something for you to do. Now I've got a Slack notification. And so would they, to be able to see, I actually assigned a piece of this project to them. So this is pretty exciting whenever it comes to this new tight Slack integration. I really like it with being able to communicate with a project with our team member or even with that client. So you got some new options that weren't available before. And if you haven't checked out Slack, you also are able to do tasks directly inside of Slack. And so you could even build this out if you wanted to be able to say to your client inside of Slack, you could say that this thing was assigned to them and you want them to do something about it. So you could add a note that says, time for bank statements, or I received a notice for workers' comp audit, so I need you to send me certificates. Whatever that communication needs to be with that client or the firm team members, you can do that directly inside of Slack or now inside of QBO. Pretty cool. So I'm excited about that new feature. Another thing, moving on, unless, Murph, we have any questions. And if we've got any questions about this new email integration or this new Slack integration, I am happy to answer those.
I don't
if not,
think
I'm
we
just going.
have. I don't think we have any questions at all. I haven't
Okay,
seen
well,
any
fantastic.
questions
I'm just
assigned
gonna
at all.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Maybe we've got a lot of people who are listening to us as they're doing year-end closings, and so they're catching part of this. And it's always just nice to know that these features exist. So QuickBooks Online Statement Auto Import. This is brand new, and I would love to show this to you as soon as it's rolled out to all of us. But right now, what we know is that it's coming. And the way that this is going to
we
look
did have
is
one. Hang on just a second. James
okay.
wants to know, is there a certain, I'm sure he means certain subscription level of QuickBooks Online that you have to have in order to have the Slack integration?
So that's a QBOA feature. So it's not on the client subscription level. It's on the QBOA level. So everybody who has got a QBOA account has got that feature. And so do you want me to share real quick how to get into that?
QBOA.
Only QBOA, but let me come over here. And when I was on my practice, so, you open up with on your dashboard first, then you come over here to your navigation work tab. And so click on that work center. And then over here, you're able to say notifications. You can turn those settings on right here. And so you can turn on both the email notifications and your Slack integration.
No,
so that's just
James
a free
has
feature.
clarified.
There's nothing that you're paying.
I'm sorry, James has clarified his question. He's wanting to know what Slack subscription level is required.
Oh, well, that's the free version. So what I was just showing you was the free version. It's not until you start getting over a certain amount of, I don't really want to call them text, but they're Slack messages, and that you start needing to pay for Slack or a certain amount. I don't even say, as you can put as many clients as you want to. It really has to do with the amount of storage that you need for Slack.
So we have found that
the free version
with the free version. Okay. All right.
Correct. Yep. That is absolutely correct. So going back to the online bank statement auto import, this is something that's coming really soon. And the way that it's going to work, and this is where I think that they're fixing a few of the features based on feedback that they have from the accountants is where these bank statements import to. So when you click on reconciliation, then you're able to see the bank statements that were fetched. And what they're doing right now is trying to make it a way that you can have two windows open or a split window. So that way you can see the bank statement with your beginning and ending balances and your reconciliation screen at the same time. So I think that you could actually even contact Intuit and say that you wanted to be part of the testing. But this is a really cool feature that once it's fully tested, and that we're going to be able to see those bank statements that are fetched for us, and then use those to reconcile. Another brand new feature is this Amazon integration. And this is really cool too. So I got really excited whenever I was looking at this Amazon integration. And this is for expenses only. This is not your sales channel. This is just the piece that you are connecting to Amazon expenses. So I'm going to go back into my QuickBooks and I'm going to share with you what that looks like once you've connected. So I've got my little test account here that I'm going to pull up so I can share with you how this works. So you come over into banking. Actually, the first thing that you do is you turn it on in Labs. So let me stop and back up and show that you turn this new feature on by coming into Labs, and there it is, and turning it on. So you turn this feature on, and then it has this really nice video. So I even recommend watching that little video. And then you can come over into your client and connect this banking feature. So you're going to get this new banking apps tab up here in the top of your banking center. So you can see here's just the banking. You don't want to connect it there. You need to turn on the Amazon feature inside of Labs, and then you have a new tab that's called Banking Apps. And here with my banking apps, I've connected to my Amazon account, and I'm able to see my expenses. So again, this doesn't have anything to do with this being a sales channel. This is truly for those companies who are using Amazon to buy a lot of job supplies. And so you can come over here in your setup, and you can tell QuickBooks how you want Amazon to import. So you set up an Amazon expense account, and then you can say, I want it to be a default category of whatever it is that you would mainly be using this for. And I would assume that in most cases that your Amazon is being used for job supplies, or it's being used for office supplies. And so you can set whatever it is that you want that expense account to be, and then you can always go and change it. And then what's really cool is this next piece. So now that I've got some of these Amazon expenses that have been fed in, I can come over and look at them. And I can see, oh, look, here's some things that were purchased. And at first glance, this looks like, oh my goodness, my client bought a whole bunch of Murph toys. So that's obviously not job supplies. And so you might, Slack them or email them and say, why would you have purchased all these Murph toys? And they go, oh, we're going to have an office party. And so you say, oh, okay, so maybe you've got this office Christmas party coming up, and here's all of our gifts that were purchased. Now, in real life, these were really my kids' part of their Christmas, so I'm glad they're not watching this. But I could say this is going to be office Christmas party gifts that are going to be handed out. So maybe some door prizes. And then I can even put in a payee. So say that I was going to,
Tools.
So I can say that tools. Oh yeah, tools. These are office tools. I love it. So I could say that maybe one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having an office party every month, and everybody loves the Nerf guns. And so I'm going to be buying from this supplier over and over and over. So I could actually set up that Amazon supplier, and I could name it whatever I needed to name it. So it's going to be my Nerf supplier. So I can add that on the fly. I can say that that's a vendor. And so from now on, I actually now have a new vendor that's set up that I could code all of my expenses to, and then I can add. So now I can come over into my expenses, and I can see here is my Amazon Christmas party Nerf guns that I purchased. And then once I open up this transaction, I can see that it coded everything to the office party, including the taxes and the shipping and handling. And since I have a Prime account, there's no fees here. But you could change that. So say that you needed to actually break it down and split it. You can make splits. You cannot make splits on the screen that we were just in. There is not a feature to be able to add splits. So you can see that normally in our bank feeds, whenever we're doing the typical bank tab with the bank feeds, we have the option to add a split. Here you do not. And so instead of adding the split while you're importing, you would actually add the split once the transaction has already been accepted. And then you also have the order details. So you could go and look this up inside of your Amazon account if you wanted to maybe return something or whatever you needed to do. You could see the details there in Amazon. Murph, do you have any questions about this?
No questions about that. So I guess you need to move on to routines.
Awesome. I think this Amazon feature is going to get more robust as time goes along, but for right now, I'm pretty darn happy about it. So let me move us forward inside of our slides. So those people who like
Labs is just doing a pretty good job about everything they're working on.
I agree. I really like this new labs, these couple of new labs features that have been rolled out. And so the next one that we're going to be talking about is also in QuickBooks Labs, and it's routines. And so routines is pretty darn exciting because you're able to do things over and over again that, so this is not part of your work routines. This is part of, or work templates. This is part of routines of reoccurring actions or notifications that you want to set. So let's go back over into our QuickBooks. And I'm going to share with you, I've gone back over into my labs and I've turned on routines here inside of my labs. So I've got it turned on. And then once it's on, it's another thing that's going to be sitting up here inside of your gear icon. So under tools, you can go to manage routines. So this is pretty slick. So one of the things that I said was, I would like to actually get a bill reminder. So every single time that this company has an upcoming bill that's due in the next however many days, I actually was able to set those features. I can say that I want to be able to come over into my new routines for getting bill reminders. And the way that it looks is this. So here's my new routines name. I have a bill that's due. And how do I want to receive that notification is going to be through email. So I'm going to say where to send that notification. And then when do I want to be reminded? So I want to be reminded a day, or I could say 10 days before that bill is due. And then I could, instead of having this be due to me, I could actually send this over to my client. So I could put in their email address. I could add a CC. I could add a blind CC. So I could put these details in here so the bookkeepers may be notified and maybe the owner is notified that these bills are due. And then you can say you have a bill due in however many days. And of course, it defaults here into the setting of the company name. And then what happens is once you have a bill that's due, discard my changes. Once you have a bill that's due, you can see that here I've got this bill that's due and I received a reminder telling me that my bill is coming up and needs to be paid. And so here's my notification of that. So I received an email saying that I have a bill that's due and who is that bill due to? And then I'm able to make sure that somebody on the team is aware that this bill needs to be taken care of. There's also reminders to customers about past due invoices. So we're able to go up into our gear icon and do our form settings, and so customize those templates for reminders. But then we can also say, if you haven't paid your invoice, here's an automatic reminder that's sent out. And then I can also email customers once they've made a payment. So this is really cool. I actually like this. So I think that there's something valuable to be said about when you have client contact at a positive interval. So a lot of times we're asking for things and we have deadlines. And so it's kind of a, less fun time to say hello to them. But if we're saying, thank you for your payment, we could actually, every single time that there's a payment received, we can send a friendly little email out that says, thank you. Thank you for paying us. And then again, we can have some feedback on types of templates that we would like to see. And so our friends over at Intuit are working on this feature now. And so they're wanting to know what kind of templates we would like to see. So you can come over here and you can ask for suggestions that you have about templates you'd like to see. And then you could also give feedback. And because they're using Slack, we're actually talking to them through their Slack channel, which I kind of find fun. Murph, do we have any questions about that? If not,
No,
I'm just going
but
to move
what I'm
over.
going to say, what I'm going to say, folks, is there's been a couple come in about these features, and rather than try to answer these individually, I'm going to say the same thing to all of you, folks. As she mentioned, these lab features, all of them have a built-in send feedback. So once you actually turn them on and you start using them, they have a built-in send feedback. Now, this send feedback is different than the one that's in QBO as such. This one goes straight to the labs development team that's working on the project. And so when you send feedback there, it goes straight to that team so that they're getting the information from you to help make the project better before it goes live. So if you think that it needs this or that or the other, what you contribute may very well be in the project by the time it truly gets rolled out into the regular production version. And with that, I think we're ready to talk about
well, I
the
see
new
one more question here. And so somebody was asking about, is that just a QBOA feature, the thing that we just did with routines? And the answer is no. And the Amazon, both of those are in all of the QBO client files. So it's not just QBOA.
Right. But you should be checking them out before you tell your clients to start using a labs feature. I don't think you should tell your clients, hey, there's a labs feature, you should go play with this. I think you should be checking it out before you, send your clients over to a labs feature. All right. So we're going to talk now about the Pro Advisor update, because there's been a big change in the Pro Advisor program that came out last month, and we're going to talk about that. And what happened to my slides? I don't know. Oh, there. Well, what on earth? Okay. Huh. So the first is we have new tiers as opposed to levels. We used to have 3 levels. They were silver, gold, and diamond. And now we have silver, gold, platinum, and elite. And they are point-based. And you see the points there. And that'll mean more to you in just a moment when we look at the basis upon which points are earned. So we will just go ahead and move on and look at some of the things that are qualifying activities that can earn you points. So if you add a new QBO subscription for a client, you can earn 50 points. You earn a new QB self-employed subscription, you can earn 25 points. If you add a new QBO payroll subscription, you can earn 50 points. If you complete QBO certification, 100 points. Complete QBO advanced certification, 200 points. If you ask me, that seems a little weak. I would think there'd be a bigger difference there, but that's my own personal opinion. If you purchase a Pro Advisor Deluxe or Premium subscription, you can get 100 points. Now, I want to call your attention to the fact that these three things are per client, but you'll notice complete certification, this is per user in the firm, and you get credit for these things. You get credit for these things based on the common number of members in your firm with the same certifications. So they're taking into account that if you're part of a firm, you get credit, the same here, but that doesn't apply in this instance. There's only 100 points that applies, and that's yours. And then if you complete a certification in QuickBooks Desktop 100, and you'll remember that the advanced certification for QuickBooks Desktop's going away, so there is no higher level of point value that is associated with that under the new system. Now, with that said, let's look though at what they're calling the grace period, because that comes into play, and it's the first item under the grace period. And that is that if you currently have advanced desktop or you earn advanced desktop prior to December 31st of this year, then you will retain platinum tier for 3 years from December 31, 2018. So you'll be a platinum tier status for 3 years from 2018, December 31. And then if you're online advanced, you'll also receive platinum tier for 3 years as of December 3rd, 2018. If you are QBO Basic as of December 3rd, 2018, then you will remain at Gold tier for 6 months from December 3rd, 2018. And they're giving a grace period for anyone who drops a tier starting as of 12/3. And that grace period is that you'll remain in your prior tier for 3 months. So what that means is they're giving you 3 months in your current tier in order to earn enough points to remain in your current tier before you actually drop into the lower tier. So if we go back to this, you can see that if you're up here in platinum, and let's say you currently have 800 points and you lose 50 points, let's say you lose a client and you lose that 50 points, so you're at 750 and you'd fall down into gold. Well, you're going to stay here long enough to go out and find another client so that you then will be back up in platinum. So that's what this 3 months is about. And then going forward, anyone who would otherwise drop a tier is graced in that current tier for 3 months. So these two are essentially the same. This is the initial 3-month grace period, and then this is the perpetual 3-month grace period. And then this standing is reflected in the new ProAdvisor page of your QBO. And you'll find that also there you'll see your benefits outlined based on the level that you're on. And you'll see the benefits that you have, and they'll be explained, and you can click on them and they'll give you the details. And you'll see that one of the important things that Intuit wanted you to know is that the new rankings, the new tiers have no impact on your Find a ProAdvisor listing. So it doesn't matter whether you are gold or silver or elite or etc. That doesn't have anything to do with your Find a ProAdvisor listing. And one of the new benefits that's available is that they have a constant contact they've worked a deal with constant contact, and the degree of discounts dependent upon your new standing. The same kind of applies with Squarespace if you need a web page. And then they have a new merchandise store, and that's in conjunction with Staples, and they've got some nifty stuff over there. And you can find out more information here. All of these are listed in 2 or 3 articles that we wrote at Insightful Accountant. And last minute updates. Well, the one thing I want to mention is they just today announced that there's going to be a price increase for QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop. That's a last minute update that you should start receiving notifications. And I also want to make you aware that QuickBooks or QB Talks will be moving to the 3rd Wednesday of every month during 2019. We moved it this month, but we will be moving to the 3rd Wednesday of every month in 2019. So January 16th will be our first QB Talks next year. And with that said, we are right at our 1 o'clock time frame. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone and wish you the happiest of holidays, and say bye to Liz and let her say bye to everybody. And we hope to see everybody on January 16th of 2019.
It was fun. Bye, Murph. Bye, everyone. See you next year.